And what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Served on the Rocks. As always, I am Charlie Sardelli, and I'm here with
Jameson Amaros,
Oscar Ibarra.
And we are three Colorado-based realtors that do this podcast specifically to arm you, the consumer, with the best knowledge as possible. We drop our episodes every week, audio on Friday and video on our YouTube channel, Living in Colorado, The Mile High Perspective, every Monday to Wednesday. So be sure to subscribe so you can catch all the up-to-date information. And like I said, up-to-date information is what we like to do for you guys. And we're going to tackle a, what would the word be? What would you say?
Depressing ass subject.
The roof is on fire.
We're going to talk about the debt ceiling.
We don't need no water, let that motherfucker burn.
But we want to try and talk about it just to kind of bring in some ideas as to what could happen if we do default, especially as you see headlines, markets crashing, interest rates going up. We want to just kind of break down some factors and information, especially because I think it was Zillow, right? Zillow released an article not too long ago.
Yeah, they put it out as estimate of how bad mortgage rates are going to get.
Zillow's estimate on the ceiling. But that's what we're going to try and tackle.
Zillow's estimates, period, suck. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't care what Zillow does.
One of the videos that I watched in preparation was talking about, he's like, love them or hate them, they made the article, so we got to go off of it, right? But it is something that's scary, and I know even my clients are being affected by it as far as, what they're willing to put down in earnest money, down payment, stuff like that. So with something that could affect the market on such a wide scale across many factors, I think it's good for us to talk about.
Well, let's be fair. When we say affect, what we mean is if we default, the housing market is going to crater.
Yeah.
Straight up. Let's just get that. They're not going to pussyfoot around it.
Yes.
It will crater. It's going to be bad. If interest rates go above 8% for an extended period of time, you're going to see a fucking bloodbath.
Yes.
So we want to make sure you guys are prepared.
And when we say bloodbath, I think it's going to affect the housing market and that will lose value, just because it has to. And I've said this in the past, the housing market has a lot of more balance to do, just with the interest rates. Again, I've seen a lot, and when I first started the business, I was refinancing people out of their 9s and 10% into a 6, and 6 was, oh my God, it was an awesome rate. So if you take things into perspective, how much would it drop? Now, again, we will reference back 08, that housing market tanked because of the loan products that were on the market. We're going to be talking about what the U.S. government's going to do as far as the national debt. Have they defaulted? What's going to happen if they do default? And if they raise the ceiling and go into more debt? Obviously, I don't want to get too ahead of the subject, but the housing market, it affects the investments and borrowing money.
Yep.
And I think if we do go to 8%, it's just going to balance it. People can't afford $700,000 houses at an 8% with the money they make, right?
Yeah.
So it's an economic balance. When it comes to percentages, I mean, we're not going to tank like an 08, I don't think, but we will see a good hit. In retrospect, the people that just bought, hang in there. If you have a job, you'll be fine. We'll balance out at some point. Yep. But the people that bought 4 or 5 years ago, I don't think it's going to affect them much because they have so much equity in them.
Well, and that's the thing too, is as you start looking at percentages and numbers, and again, we talk about headlines all the time, but that's one thing.
And again, I'm more emotional. I'm less emotional, more fact and number driven.
Exactly.
Give me the numbers, and I'll be like, look, get the emotional side out of it. Let's talk numbers, and the numbers. As much as they don't make you feel all fuzzy and warm inside, the numbers are what they are.
Well, and on that note, as always, we are not going to talk about this in a red or a blue way. We're going to talk about this as numbers, as facts, as what the stats say are going to come. So don't even bring it up.
Well, and again, whether it's red or blue, it's been on both sides of parties that this has been a factor in. It's been under, I think it was in Bush's administration that we had to look at it, and there's been some Democrats as well. So it's been on both sides
since 1972,
and they both pushed and did what they need to do. And the U.S. government, there's maybe some agendas, I don't know, but we're not gonna. Knock on wood, we're never going to end up a third world country. We're smart, and when we borrow money to stimulate or activate more money into the economy. Yeah. So it's smart borrowing. So we'll see.
Well, and I think today
I'm not an economist.
Yeah.
I'm a realtor.
Right.
Smart borrowing until we did not smart borrowing, and that's why we're in the position we're in today. But we'll talk
Exactly.
about that
Right.
in a
Yeah.
minute.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
But-
what are we, like 33 trillion,
Well,
60
yeah,
trillion? I mean,
we'll touch on it.
yeah,
We'll touch on
tomato,
it.
tomato.
But today, we want to kind of keep it simple, especially because the topic is going to be so heated. We wanted to go with another bourbon here that everybody would kind of be familiar with, especially with the name of it. So today we did choose to go with the Knob Creek, and this is going to be the small batch, which is going to be 100 proof. So if you watched
9
last
year?
week's episode, 9 years.
It's
Yep.
a 9-year bourbon.
9-year bourbon. So if you watch last week's episode, this would be, honestly, I think it'll be a good comparison from last week to this week, because that was also 100 proof, but I think it was 5 or 6 years on the 4 years on new riff.
years.
But
Yep.
the new riff changed with the copper and the cold distillation filtration.
New
Whatever
Riff
it
is, like in the name, it's a newer age bourbon.
Exactly.
These guys have been around for a
Tried
while.
and true. Exactly.
I mean,
So
Knob Creek's been staple forever.
yeah, and if you go into any bar, you're going to see Knob Creek on the shelf, whether it be the lower end, the small batch. Knob Creek is a well-known brand when it comes to bourbon. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of touch on that a little bit. I'm going to pass it off to our stat info guy over here, Jameson, while I pour it out.
He's looking through. It was a mad dash, guys.
It was a mad dash.
They're like, who brought the bourbon? I was like, I'll stop and grab some. And I went through the aisles like, I don't know. I'm grabbing some Knob Creek. It's good to drink, and it's a staple.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, Booker No was the one that created Knob Creek, and they aged their whiskeys, like we talked about, for 9 years because they believe that brings out the best flavor and characteristics of the whiskey. We are drinking, I believe, a single barrel, so
It is
there is
single
zero essentially mixing of any barrels. This barrel that was done. You're not gonna, if they do another single barrel, it's not gonna taste exactly like this one. Yeah, I mean they.
And that's why you see a lot of single barrel picks.
Yes. Yep. And I'm excited. I think their story. Knob Creek's been around forever. They don't have it. I mean, the story is not.
It's like Jack
thriving,
Daniel's.
but it's essentially like
Yeah,
Jack Daniel's.
yeah,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Jim Beam.
Yeah.
They've been around for a while. I mean, I've had it, so it's good
Yeah.
drinking bourbon.
Yep.
But
Well, and
we'll
again,
go
for me, I love the fact on this podcast that we have tried so many at this point. I mean, this is episode 26, so we're 26 bourbons in.
Yep.
And it's, again, this being such a staple, like I bartended for 4 years, but I'll tell you that when I was doing that, I didn't have enough of a bourbon palate to go, oh yeah, this is different from the non-small batch, the regular, the Jack Daniel's small batch. But now, I mean, even as we took the neck pour earlier before the episode started, I definitely tasted more than I did in the past. So it'll be interesting to get into it and just kind of divulge the flavors a little bit. Jameson, did you find a flavor profile at all?
Yes.
Don't do it.
Okay.
Do you guys want to know what it is?
Oh, please.
Creamy mouthfeel.
Taste, aroma, and finish will vary based on the barrel selected.
Ah, okay. Very descriptive.
It's kind of like a choose your own story or choose your own ending story. Okay.
Or it's you get what you get.
Yeah.
We're Knob Creek. We've been doing this for a while.
Drink
You know
it,
what
man.
you're
We're
drinking.
Knob Creek.
Yep.
It'll be good.
It's like, listen, guys, it's a single barrel aged for 9 years. If you don't like it, fuck off. Go find something
Right.
else.
Yeah, and you know what? I can I say what we paid? I mean, it's a very inexpensive. I mean, all right, it's not the biggest bottle, but it's $40.
Right.
It's not bad.
It's
Not bad.
For $40, you're gonna get something decent. $40, I think this one's good.
I compared Knob Creek a lot to Woodford
Yes.
Reserve.
Yeah,
I think it's a
absolutely.
very similar bourbon.
See, and that's again
Another tried and true
yes,
bourbon.
exactly, and that's where, like I said, for me, it's interesting because before, if somebody would have said Woodford, the first thing my brain went to is, oh, that's really hot.
Yeah.
But I guarantee now that as we're drinking it, I'm going to be like, oh, that's
Well,
not bad.
in my early days, I would hear Woodford Reserve, and I was like, oh, top shelf, high end.
Yeah,
But
I mean, you go to Applebee's, I think it is.
oh yeah, you go to Applebee's, you got Jack Daniel's top shelf. But
Eating
there's
good in the neighborhood, baby.
across the board. I mean, there's tons of bourbons, and Woodford's. It's not a bad bourbon. It's
No.
a good bourbon. I'm not talking shit. I mean, it's a good bourbon. Does it belong on the top shelf? Probably not, because I know other bourbons
Exactly.
that should and belong up there. But it's a good bourbon.
Yeah.
I mean, Knob Creek, Woodford Reserves, Buffalo Trace.
Dude, so speaking of, I don't know if you saw it on Telegram for the club. They did the blind whiskey tasting.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a good point, right?
okay.
When we talk about high-end bourbons. So they tasted a bunch of them. I think there was a Russell
Yeah.
10-year, Eagle Rare, an EH Taylor, and then one other one, right? But the Eagle Rare was the 10-year Eagle Rare. So it's a good one, right? Supposedly. You go to a bar that has Eagle Rare 10-year,
Oh, you're
you're
paying
going to pay
$40.
$40
A pour.
for a pour, right? And other people, members
club.
of this club, did a blind tasting, and the Eagle Rare, dead last. Most expensive, hardest to find. The Russell 10-year was, and that you can buy that bottle for $35.
Yep.
So the beauty of it is, like, as we go through all these different bourbons and we give our opinions, and you guys are following along at home and want to try some of these, the cool thing about bourbon that I like is it's a different journey for everybody based on your specific taste. And there's a lot of things that are considered high end and hard to find and rare and all these different things, but you put them blind taste and you could sit there and go, holy cow, I like this. And it's a $40 bottle versus this $180 bottle, and that's okay.
And that's the thing.
And it's like a wine taster's journey, right?
Yeah.
Zareli is one of the top sommeliers. He had his course class in one of the World Trade Centers back in the day, and he had a book called Windows to the World. And in the book, he says a good wine is not its rarity or how expensive. It's what tastes good to your palate. That's a good wine.
Yep.
Same with bourbon.
Absolutely.
My wife will drink a $70 bottle of red wine or a Boda box.
Fresnel.
A black box that'll last you like a month.
And she will take that, not in our household, and she will take that Boda box 10 out of 10 times over an expensive bottle of wine.
It's what tastes good at the end of the day. What are you enjoying?
Exactly.
And I hope that this at least helps you try different ones or say, hey, you know what? They said that was good. Try it. And if it's garbage to you, hey, it is.
Yep.
And then you go buy something that's cheaper or like that Larceny. That Larceny is really easy to
Dude, $29,
drink.
love it.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
great.
I
still gotta
Bourbon,
bring
if
in the
that's
real
all
Granddad Bond.
Well, I have a good friend, Greg Nelson, and he likes what he likes.
Yeah.
You know, and he'll enjoy a good expensive bottle of bourbon, but he likes what he likes, and he stocks what he likes at his home, and I appreciate that, and you know, tried and true for what he likes.
Absolutely. And I mean, for me, it's like I used to say Buffalo Trace was my go-to, put it in the decanter at home and have it sitting. But now that I've been able to try so many different ones, 100%, I'd try, you know, even 80 Laws. We went there. I'd do that over. I'd do the Angel's Envy.
Have we had 80 Laws on this show yet?
Very early on.
Did we?
Very early on.
Oh, Silk.
Yeah.
Silk brought it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Silk.
Shout out to Silk.
You need an
Good insurance
broker.
agent.
Yep,
Absolutely.
yep. Well, this has been open for a little bit now, so let's go ahead and get that first sip in.
I think we haven't done any 80 Laws because
Cheers.
I have my opinions.
I'd like to do it now that we're this far into
Yeah. Tasting.
tasting.
I had their corn.
I don't like the corn.
That's harsh.
So is the
corn
four
rings.
grains.
Is
The four grains is super harsh too.
Yeah, and you know they're Colorado. They're here. They're off of Acoma Street.
I have my
And
same-
they throw some awesome summer parties.
I have my same opinions on Stranahans.
Oh, I
have
have.
people eviscerate
Yeah,
me.
we haven't had Stranahan's on the show for a reason.
So, Oscar,
If they buy it, I'm good, but I won't buy it.
I know this is after you've run your marathon, which, by the way, congratulations.
Fucking
my man.
hobbled my
Hey, you finished it though. But last week you said when you took the scent because you weren't drinking as much, it kind of smacked you with the burn. Before I say what I want to say, I want to ask how this one's doing for you.
There's still some burn there, but it's not too bad.
That's exactly, and that's where I was going with it. Is that last week it was almost immediate with the 100 proof, and the new riff we took
Is 100 or 120?
100.
It's 100.
Yeah,
100.
So it's just right off the bat, I'm getting way more of the flavor off of on the nose of this guy at 100 proof. But again, new riff was a little bit higher rye mash,
And
so
it was not, I mean, when you age something for 5 extra years, you're going to get a lot more undertones as far as the
100%.
sweeter flavors. Just
And these guys been around for a while.
in general.
they know what
so.
they're doing.
they
Great
know
point
what the
though.
hell they're doing.
Great point on the timing too. You can
And-
definitely tell what that extra time does.
Yeah, because I mean, you still get the burn, but now it's mellowed out because you've got all these other particulates that have been absorbed into the whiskey that are coming out via the scent. And
I
even though
will
it's,
tell you though, I can't keep referencing the video with the guy. I still can't.
So the video, and we'll probably put it on on one of the
we should
platforms,
cut it.
but he pours himself some whiskey, and he grabs it, and he just gives it a hell of a swirl, and then he just dumps it out. Doesn't even like go. He just flings it out of the glass, and he goes, "It got to coat the glass. You don't want any of those impurities." And then he's talking about the proper way of doing stuff. So he pours some more, and then he grabs it and he shoves it. And he's a British guy. I think. He has this big old nose, and he just grabs it, and he's like, just sniffing the hell out of it. And I'm waiting for the liquid to go up his nose.
He's huffing whiskey.
He's like
That's what he's
going
doing.
at it, and he's like talking, and he's doing this while he's talking. And then he talks about grabbing water because you cut down the alcohol burn with water. and he grabs the water and he goes, "You want to grab the water and stick your fingers in
in
the
it.
water." And he's like, "Because you got to make sure that water's not hot."
I've been around the country.
And they served me hot water. So he grabs the water with the fingers in it, and then he pours some in, and then he's like going, and I'm just watching this like, I can't turn this shit off.
I will say the reason I brought it up is I still can't stick my nose all the way in this. It tinges the nostrils.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
still
afraid
hot.
to go back like he does because it'll go up my nose.
It'll get in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sinuses cleared.
On the nose though, I am getting more sweet.
Yep.
I get definitely
some
more
caramel,
of that
some vanilla,
vanilla for sure.
chocolate
on the
tones.
nose.
Oscar, what's your random note of the day? Tennis ball leather.
No. I'm getting car leather lotion.
Car leather lotion.
Like turtle wax.
Yeah, the stuff that you supple your leather in your car.
Tune in weekly for Oscar's great description on flavoring.
What does this taste like? Have you ever put a horseshoe in your mouth after it's been in the Oklahoma red dirt for about 3 minutes?
You know when your armor all in your tires in your car and the sun just hits just right? You know those fumes you get?
It's actually the towel after you clean your car and it's sitting in your garage for
yeah.
about 3 weeks. You pick it up and you just put it in your mouth. That's
perfect.
That's what it tastes like.
Perfect.
Yep.
On a serious note, though,
actually.
with as far as-
Microfiber towels, to be specific.
Has to be yeah, if it's just a regular,
Yeah, it's a regular
terry
towel.
no,
It's microfiber.
shit leaves shit everywhere.
on the first sip, I'm kind of surprised on how much of the spice I get at the forefront, and then it definitely gives way to that sweetness, and I'm getting more of a nutty flavor at the end, like almost like a chocolate almond
Yeah.
at the end of
I
it.
can get that.
You say almond?
Almond,
It's not almond.
almond,
It's
almond,
almond. It's an almond.
The Almond Brothers. What?
No, almond. Almond's a thing. It's the almonds or almonds.
Almond?
Almonds.
I've just learned my mouth doesn't work correctly. according to
Aluminium?
most people.
No. People say almonds. A lot
Almonds.
of people say almonds like
Yeah.
pecans and
Yeah.
pecans. And
Maybe it's the New York. I don't know.
I think it is. It's
think it's-
almonds. I
yeah.
think it's almonds up northeast.
Yeah,
I say
that's
almonds.
how almonds. Yeah, almonds is how I've always said it. Interesting. Well, now you made me self-conscious of yet another word.
That's what I do.
But
And
ultimately,
I'm not wearing my aviator. I'm still wearing aviators, but they're clear. I did get some shit to block out blue lights, so I should be good. But now I have eye contact with.
I definitely like just
Hey, I was
before-
connecting with the people.
I know. Hey, no,
connecting with the people here.
Absolutely. I just want to say definitely. I think out of the last 4 first sips that we've had, I think this one's been the most pleasurable for me. Only because I am getting more flavor
Yeah.
complexity.
Especially for 100 proof.
Yeah.
The thing for me for this one is it's just I'm drinking bourbon.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, profiles aside, I'm drinking bourbon.
This is
It
a
tastes good.
bourbon
It's
by a
good
fire pit bourbon.
Yes.
It is a bourbon.
100%.
It's a bourbon man's bourbon.
Yes. 100%.
Pick it up. You like bourbon? This is the bourbon.
Yeah, if you guys can pick this up already, I can recommend it just for the price
Yeah,
point.
go camping, grab it, drink some bourbon by the
Throw
fire.
an ice cube in this.
Oh, absolutely.
Really open it up.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm glad I got a couple of those sips in before we start on this
Yeah, me
topic
too.
here. It's been a hell of a fucking 2 weeks.
Dude,
But
it's been a hell of a
But
month.
adding to that, something that you've seen a lot of news headlines on is talking about the debt ceiling or the United States defaulting coming by the X day, which is June 1st.
June 8th, June 9th, depends on what news.
Depends on what they say.
organization.
Yeah. But that's the topic that we want to cover today. And what we kind of want to start with is what are we talking about? What is a debt ceiling? What's going to happen? What does defaulting mean? So before we get into how it'll affect the housing market, let's go ahead and kind of break that down for them a little bit.
Yeah.
Jamo?
So, I mean, the U.S. debt ceiling is essentially, can the U.S. government pay their bills? That's what it is, right? And the way they pay their bills is they borrow money from Congress, essentially, to then pay the bills. So they use taxpayer money, they use congressional funds, and the Treasury says, okay, these are the things we have to pay for, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's, not to get political, but financing conflicts in other countries, paying government employees, government works, government programs, aka FHA.
Not to get political, but we're going to name all the government agencies.
Yes, yeah, the CIA, the FBI,
have to, though.
the military budget spending, all that kind of stuff, right? And that they have essentially Congress sets a limit of how much debt the U.S. can have.
acquire.
And if they go past that limit with no resolution, then the U.S. Treasury and the U.S. government goes into what's called default, right? Once default happens, a couple of things will take place. The Treasury can enact emergency
China's
contingencies.
going to come repo our shit.
Right? And essentially, I mean, unfortunately, it could be, hey, we're going to cut government funding for different things, aka Social Security, government paychecks, military members may not get paid.
Yep.
Projects might get
Big
put on hold.
cold day in hell. I'll do everything to fund my VA people.
Yep.
Yep.
The other piece of it is we do default, and the U.S. credit rating takes a hit, which, from a financial market standpoint, may actually be an even bigger deal, because now, as it stands right now, the U.S. dollar is the currency throughout the world, right?
Yep.
So everything is pegged to the U.S. dollar. I know there's some China and Russia and a couple other countries.
New world order.
Yeah, are looking to decouple from the U.S. dollar. But the point is, the U.S. has been seen as a no-fail, we will pay off our debts no matter what, which is why people buy treasuries, because they're
And
seen
people
as
get
a
all
very
up in
low
arms
risk.
too as they watch the national debt go up.
Yeah.
You
What's
know
that
what?
one website? U.S. debt or whatever.
Yeah.
Listen,
I mean-
it's fake money.
It is.
Okay?
I mean, at the end of
It's
the day,
fake money.
what is currency, right?
Right. It's fake money.
Well, it is
We
what
used
it
to use
is,
rocks, and now we use paper.
Yeah.
To put things into perspective, every first world country is in debt somehow,
Correct.
some way.
Yes.
There's only like three, I think, one country that has zero debt.
Well, and at the
and
end
then
of the
the
day,
lower ones is the Middle Eastern countries have very, very low debt.
at the end of the day,
But every big country, I mean, the United Kingdom has debt.
Yeah.
Russia has debt, and we all spread our debt around. And again, it's a currency that we're agreeing because we print more freaking money.
yes.
you know.
So at the end of it, basically, if the debt ceiling is set at a certain amount, if the United States defaults on that amount and shows that
Or
they
they
can
raise it.
or they raise it, or then and it shows that we can't pay, the credibility of the U.S. dollar around the world drops. And if the U.S. dollar is the main focus of the world economy, then that's where we see all the scarcity that is going to affect the world economy, something that we've never seen before, blah, 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 blah. But what we're here to talk about today is how this will affect the United States housing market, right? Especially
Well,
as
the financial sector, because
Yeah.
it's investments and how much they're going to charge you to borrow the money.
Well, yeah, and
Borrow
that's
the money
exactly
across
the
board.
thing, though, is the U.S. housing market is based upon how much support we have for borrowers, virtually, because I'm sorry, but not a lot of people are going to pay in cash for a house, right? Most people, what I would say 85+% are going to use
Yeah, I think it's
financing.
23% last year of home purchases were made cash.
Yeah, exactly. So you have something that is dependent. You have our market that is dependent on these loans.
Heavily on loans.
Exactly. So that's why it would affect
Well,
us.
heavily dependent on, to be specific, treasury bonds.
Yes,
Yes.
and exactly. And that's the first aspect of what we're going to see. The first thing that we want to talk about when it comes to a factor that could be affected in the housing market if this happens is going to be interest rates. And if you've been privy to the news, you'll see that Zillow did put a report out, like we said, weeks ago now, maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago at this point. But one thing that they're reporting is that interest rates could peak above 8%. And that would be something that hasn't happened in almost a decade at this point, right? So what we kind of want to do is explain why that would happen as a default, or if a default were to occur. And as Jameson said earlier, one of the basis of what the U.S. economy is based on is Treasury bond, the 10-year Treasury bond, right? And we talked about it in the past how, and guys, please try and stick with me here because I'll be honest with you, I looked over this for about 20 to 30 minutes specifically trying to get this worded right. But as we've talked about in the past, it's kind of an inverse correlation when it comes to how good the country is doing to what interest rates are doing, right? And basically what we're seeing with these Treasury bonds is that if Treasury bond demand goes down, then what you're going to see is interest rates going up, right? And basically what that attests to is, and I'm going to try and explain it the easiest way possible. If you have less people that are willing to buy these treasury bonds, then that means the yield is higher. So people are making more money off of these bonds because less people own the bonds and it can't be dispersed across them. So when that happens, you have a low demand, and what do they want people to do? They want people to buy more of these bonds and take out more loans.
And the reason they want people to buy the bonds is because buying treasury bonds is one of the bigger ways that the U.S. government finances itself.
Exactly.
It says, hey, buy these bonds, and then when they mature in 10 years, we're gonna pay you interest on it. And at 10 years, you can sell those bonds back to us. U.S. government makes their money. You make your money on interest.
And now what you see is if yield is high and people are making more money, that means the companies that hold these bonds are not making as much money. So what they're going to do is then try to affect that and get more people to buy these bonds. And in order to do that, you see an adjustment come in.
You need to give them a better return.
Exactly.
And I need to see numbers.
Right?
Because outside of this scary part of the interest rate, for me is I'm always on the financial sector of the workforce. How many jobs are going to be lost? I think there was like 240,000.
Yep.
Again, if we're talking numbers, that might not be a lot. It is substantial. But if that is higher and the rates get higher, we're in trouble.
Yep.
If the rates are slightly higher, but only that many jobs are lost, that means people are still working. Our economy is still good. The definition of a recession is very vague. We could say we're in a recession now. How deep into a recession are we going to go?
Yeah, there's so many different definitions of recession.
And that's what you really have to focus on. Again, my business is off of a needs, not a wants right now. So if you need to sell or buy, definitely. It's never a perfect time, but do it. But what you need to focus on is the numbers and the percentages. The percentages are going to be super low, but the numbers are going to be super high.
Well, and what Oscar is referring to is kind of this perfect storm that we found ourselves in when it comes to the housing market, because right now we're sitting at an average, I think the last number that I saw, an average home price across the country anywhere between $400,000 and $450,000, right?
468 was the latest update.
The latest, okay, yeah. So
Find me a house in Denver, 3-bedroom, 2-bath for $468.
It's townhome.
So, well, let me just give you guys an example, right? So you ask, okay, we always hear interest rates. How would that affect it, right? So let's say, I'm going to go low here. Let's say you have a $400,000 home and you put a standard 5% down on that home. Normally, your payment's going to come out anywhere between $2,000 and $2,200, roughly. Now, if you take that same interest rate from 6.2% to 6.5%, now you up it to 8.2 to 8.5. What you'll see is that monthly payment going from anywhere to $2,000 to $2,200 up to $2,600 to $2,800.
Not $3,000.
If not $3,000, right? So that is what the detriment of...
Yeah, it's about a $450 to $500 a month increase.
Right.
If we go to 8.4%.
Minimum.
Right. So that's what the detriment of this interest rates being raised would be. And the reason that it's so much of a problem right now is because, especially in a state like Colorado, where we have seen home prices increase by 30 to 45% over the last 4 years, when you have home prices that are level, that are okay, maybe around 330 to 400, it's a little bit easier to bite at 6.2. But when you have elevated home prices, again, over 480, 550, up to 600 in Colorado here, we're looking, 550 plus now?
585.
Right? Almost $600,000 standard. Now imagine doing 8% on $600,000.
Paying $4,500 a month.
That's very undoable for a lot of Americans, especially when you look at the median household income across the country being $55,000 to $60,000.
And the problem is, I was like, all right, I just won't buy. I'll go rent. Well, what do you think these investors are doing?
Yep.
They know the interest rates are high. I could get more money. You have to rent. You're not going to buy. So I'm going to up the rents next time you have to renew your lease by $1,000.
I mean,
and they're going to get it.
And
so
we're already
it's a double-edged
seeing
sword.
I was talking to Jameson earlier. I saw a TikTok last night of a girl saying, "Oh, I live in South Denver and my rent's going up by $1,200." It's like, yeah, especially, and not only that, but now they're facing down these extra taxes that we talked about.
Yeah, Gallagher. So absolutely, it's going to go up.
And here's the interesting part of that whole article and why this is such a tipping point. So you would think, right, that if interest rates go to 8.5%, it is going to cool demand, which would then put downward pressure on home prices.
Yep.
Right? That's the logical thing that would happen. However, if we go back 3-4 episodes and we talked about the fact that we have underbuilt for the last decade, right?
Yep.
Since 2010, 2012, what's happening and what Zillow is projecting, and again, it's his estimate. I get it. I don't like them either, but they do have a shit ton of data. Their projection is even with interest rates at or above 8%, average home prices in areas that have a very restricted amount of homes would only drop 1% to 2%.
What? Yeah,
right.
Not 1
So
to 1.2.
before anybody comes after us and goes, "See, the housing market's going to crash," At the end of the day, we talk about
There's
foundational
a
elements.
lot of factors.
Foundational elements of any free market, and the biggest one, no matter what, you could talk about the U.S. world economy, you could talk about inflation, you could talk about the housing market. It's supply and demand.
100%.
So yes, is there a chance if we default, interest rates go up to 8.4%? Yes, that's probably what will happen based on everything we just talked about. But that being said, it doesn't mean that housing prices are going to come down 30, 40, 50% because we have so much demand and so little supply. I just looked at it today, rolling 7 days. I don't know if you looked at RE Colorado a day or two.
Not the last 8.
Over the last 7 days, right? So
This number's crazy.
1,200 new listings in all of RE Colorado. We put 1,490 pending. So in the last 7 days, we've had 250 more houses go pending than we did actually come in the market. So what does that tell you, right? So as long as the supply issue is there, we're still going to see upward pressure on home prices, even at 8.4%. So this is not saying go out and buy before things get terrible. We're just giving you guys information. Saying, don't expect, if this does happen, which we'll talk about if we think it will in a minute, it doesn't mean the housing market's going to crash and you're going to snap up a $500,000 home for $250,000. That's not going to happen, right? The other side of this,
because it's a personal sale.
The other side of this too is
People
now
wanna
it turns
sell.
into a self-fulfilling cycle, right? So we just had home builder sentiment go up for the past 4 months straight. Okay, we get more traffic, we got blah, 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 blah. Well, if all of a sudden demand does slow down, well, builders are not going to be incentivized to build houses. And if they're not incentivized to build houses, that doesn't help the supply issue.
Well, and that's that's not even touching on the fact that the homes that these builders are building are not single family units.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is even if you take single family residences, right? So now if builders are going, well, 8.5%, nobody's going to buy houses. So now the builder sentiment is going to go down, which means less permits are going to get pulled, right? So that's going to happen, which is not going to help supply. On top of that, the people that were locked in at 4.5%, 3%, 4%, well, I think it's 2.5 million households in the United States are under a 4% interest rate for their mortgage. If they're staring at 8.5%, they're going to be even more hesitant to sell their house. So that supply goes away. So what's going to happen is you're going to have high interest rates, but you're going to probably have relatively stable home prices because there's just not enough homes.
And we're gonna and I'm gonna put a pin on that for a second because we are gonna touch on it as we go through towards the end of the episode. But the next factor that I want to talk about included in this default would be unemployment rates, right? And what we've talked about in the past is a lot of the time interest rates are dependent on unemployment rates. It is a factor that play into it. But what we're seeing is a unique situation where if we default, employment is going to skyrocket at an amount that
Employment or unemployment?
Unemployment, excuse me, is gonna raise at a rate that honestly is, I would say, almost unprecedented in front of the pandemic.
Why would it raise?
Well, so if we default, like Jameson mentioned earlier, that means that the government is going to have to cut a massive amount of programs, positions within the government, and that is going to attest, at least for the numbers that I saw, we've sat pretty steady for the last 2 years between 3.3 to 3.7%, 3.8% on unemployment. The number that I saw predicted that unemployment would go up around 7 to 8, and that's crazy. That's an equivalent of 2 million plus jobs that are lost.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's something that you also have to consider. And this is why I said we put a pin into it.
And then it trickles out outside of the government. Well, that's government jobs, right?
Exactly.
And then with the lending stuff, if the lending sector is not lending and they slow down, they got to cut people too.
Well, and not only that, but we've already, if you've been, if you listener consumer have been paying attention, the tech sector, the one that was bolstering and growing over the last 3 years, they've seen cuts that, again, unprecedented. They've gone back to try and save some of that spending. So if that
Whatever,
is a
don't talk
precursor,
stuff about Elon Musk. That dude's awesome.
So if we
Cut
see
everybody
it,
from Twitter.
if we see and again how unemployment, we default, unemployment goes up, what does that mean? Obviously, if you're able to connect the dots easily, if people aren't working, people aren't making money. And if people aren't making money, are they going to feel comfortable
They're
putting
not buying houses.
Exactly. They're not going to feel comfortable putting large down payments down. They're not going to feel comfortable putting themselves into almost a $4,000 a month payment.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting argument about unemployment that's a little controversial.
Why not? Go for
I
it.
mean, I personally don't think unemployment's going to go that high because as and I'm going to go on both sides of the aisle here. We're not getting political, and this is why I want to bring this up. But starting with the Obama administration and then transitioning into Trump's administration and then continuing with Biden's administration, the one thing that's been consistent from a labor market standpoint is the U.S. government has significantly cracked down on borders, right?
Yeah.
For some, maybe not enough. For others, too much. But over the last...
I just saw my people. I was in North Carolina 2 weeks ago, and I just saw everybody like,
yeah.
"Hey, took her down."
The point is, if you look at from 2000, when Obama got elected, 2008, right, until now, previously from the 80s and the 90s, the amount of labor that has come across the borders has significantly decreased, like in the millions.
Yeah.
So what's happening, and one of the weird parts about what we've been going through with the pandemic, and why everybody's like, well, we've the Fed fund rate's been raising, and the goal is, unfortunately, to increase unemployment, and they haven't been able to do it, even with the tech layoffs and everything else, because we don't have a ton of labor coming in from across the borders anymore. So the workforce is what it is, and everybody's looking for a job, which is why unemployment's so low. So I would think that if that still stays the same, even you ask the government jobs and a couple of different things, I don't know if it'll go up that much.
Yeah.
Because we just don't have enough labor, and we have an aging population. We've got the baby boomers are all going into retirement, right?
Well, and I'd love to see how much this
Baby
gig
boomers
economy.
retirement. They're dying, man.
Well, no,
They're old.
Well, like
They're
my
going
parents,
into
right?
retirement.
Eternal retirement.
Yeah.
Well, outside of that, I mean, if you want to get real, none of the generations right now, that American generations, are going to go into farming, agriculture and farming.
Correct.
They're not going to do it. They're,
Well, I mean,
they're
look
not
at-
picking strawberries or anything
You want to
like
go
that.
into climate change?
Well,
I mean, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting argument.
it
there.
is.
It's
To your
very
point,
interesting.
It's very interesting.
to your point, now look at, and again, not getting political, just talking about facts and what's
Fuck it,
what's
we're
happened.
getting political.
Right? Look at what happened in Florida once they passed that bill where it's basically everybody has to show if you have 25 plus employees, literal videos of fields not being with no workers. And to your point, if jobs are available,
That's what I'm saying. So I think the unemployment part's a little bit different.
yeah.
And again, so what's going to happen is that's still going to stoke demand. So I guess my whole point is, in all this doom and gloom, I think like projection wise for home prices, if you guys are waiting for the market to crash, even if we do default, maybe 10% home values.
You know
maybe.
what? I know we keep on saying we're not going to get political, but let me get political just briefly. Whether you're red or blue, I don't care. Do your homework when you vote, because there's a lot more involved in the decisions that are made. That if you're humanitarian, obviously, this is all I'm going to give, but there's give and takes there. And if all you're fiscal and you want to go here, you're all numbers. Well, I don't want that, but I want this. Well, there's also give and take there. Just do your homework when you vote, and don't make it just personal.
In general,
Get information.
well, not only do your homework, vote.
Yeah.
Please,
First of all,
just vote. Vote. Exactly.
Yeah.
But don't vote uninformed.
Exactly.
Can we make that point? Do not vote uninformed.
And yeah, don't vote uninformed. And it's my privilege. I could do it. It matters. It's not only a privilege. It's your right. If you want to have a voice, if you want to bitch about something and not vote, I'm not going to listen to you.
Exactly. You have
Do
no leg to
something
stand
about
on.
it.
100%.
Now, if you're voting, okay. Now, if you want to get even more, go in there and go to the town halls. Go voice your opinion.
And I will
something.
say one thing that makes me very, very proud of the TikTok social media thing is I do feel like we are getting more visibility to more people on things that are
You
creating.
matter. Vote.
Yeah, exactly. That show our voice matters. Make a decision. And if you do it educated, we can form a country that is beneficial for red, blue, yellow, white, whatever. We can make that happen, but you have to go out and put the effort in and make it what you want it to be.
And please play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I don't care how hardcore you are about a certain subject. Look at the other side.
Yes.
And look at the other side why they're doing it, because there might be a point that you're like, you know what? Damn.
Adele's got a great song about it.
Yeah. And in the background, are we going to play "Because I'm Proud to Be an American"?
Well, and it's what's
From
funny
the
is
other
what's
side.
funny is like you preface
yeah,
that
yeah.
with I'm going to be a little political. Based on this fucking ecosystem that we're in politically, I don't consider that political. I consider that American.
Well, and
Absolutely.
and at the end of the day, we're talking about the U.S. debt ceiling and what it could mean for you guys if you're looking for a house, whether it's renting, buying, so on and so forth. The base summary of what we're talking about is if we default, that's worst case scenario. I personally don't think we will. The U.S. has never defaulted on their debt ceiling ever. We came close back in 2011. Some emergency things happened. We got through it and we're good. So I don't think it'll happen. But be prepared, right? So a couple of different things. Let's say you're shopping for a house now and you're working with your lender and you've gotten pre-approved and you're out shopping. Ask them if they have
shopping. I have PTSD with shopping. Every time you say shopping, I have like Target comes into
Yeah, sorry. If you're home
Target.
perusing, ask your lender about if they have lock and shop rates, right? Because what you don't want to see happen is, let's say it does go worst case scenario, and you're shopping for a home right now, and in 3 weeks we default, and immediately interest rates go up. You don't want to sit there and be like, I found my dream home. Now it's 2.5% higher, right?
Yep.
You don't want that to happen. So
it's $1,000 more that you're going to pay a month.
be proactive. The other thing I will tell you right now is I personally, again, I don't think we're going to default. So I don't think interest rates are going to go crazy. However, we talked about this in a previous episode. I forget which one. The market in general, especially the financial market, is such a psychological game that all of these different little things are just making investors nervous. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what side you're on, in our economy, investors drive our financial markets. So if they're uneasy, interest rates are going to be uneasy, right? We've gone chopped between 5.85 to 7 for the last 8 months, and it's
Watch
gone up
the
and
stock
gone down and
market.
gone up and gone down and gone up and gone
That's
down.
going to
Right?
be a good indicator of what's going to
That's what I'm saying.
100%.
So, and what happens is, and this is why the debt ceiling is such an important thing, is the stock market is historically seen as volatile, unless it's a blue chip company, but even then it's volatile. Treasury bonds are seen as the safest investment you can have because it's backed by the full faith and credit of the United States of America.
Because
that's the whole
worth
point.
1 ounce gold.
Right. However, if we default, all of a sudden, it's not the full faith and credit. It's like, oh man, you got like a 480 credit score US. I'm not going to invest in this. And that's when things would go absolutely insane.
As much
so
as
be
a lot
prepared.
of people that are political would like to say, well, there's idiots on that side. Well, there's idiots on that side. They have their respectable reasons why they're in office.
Yeah.
A lot of them are a lot smarter than I am. A lot of them are not. But I'm a faith in humanity. I have faith in everything, and I'm a gambling man. I think we're going to be okay.
Well,
I'm a gambling man. I do not have faith in humanity. I'll come out and say that right now.
I don't think we're going to tank.
No,
but
I don't think we are either.
And
we
we're
won't.
going to get through it.
It would be too catastrophic.
Yeah.
If we default,
Too much stuff has been stacked up.
Yes.
For
if
it to
we,
just fucking
if
topple.
we default, you see potentially unemployment. You see financial markets go haywire. You see the treasuries tank. You see countries demanding payment now, right?
Yeah.
Like we have agreements with China and with Russia and with Great Britain and with Germany, the EU, whoever it is, say, hey, you know what? We're not going to pay you back right now, but we will eventually. We're going to share resources. And so far, everybody's like, yeah, no problem. You've never defaulted. If we do default, that goes out the window. So that can have global consequences, right? Unemployment-wise, if you talk housing market, if we have to cut government programs, we talked about this before the podcast, one of the government programs that could be in jeopardy is FHA.
Yep.
Right? So all of a sudden, if FHA is now not a thing,
What about VA?
or VA, right? Anything government.
two very, very key elements in
Exactly.
the home buying process.
So for those reasons, I too believe that we will not default, but it is important for you guys watching, listening, to do your research and understand how you can prepare. So if you're out shopping, ask if you can lock your rate in, right? If you are looking at refinancing, maybe look at it sooner rather than later. Obviously right now it may not make sense, but if you need a HELOC to pay off debt or anything like that, talk with your lender and see if it's a good idea before, because one of the things that will tank with a default are variable credit lines. So HELOCs are more expensive, credit cards are more expensive, car loans are going to be more expensive.
Well, and with that being said, as these things get more expensive, that's going to lead into something that we've already seen.
Again, the job market with the whole agricultural, your groceries are going to get more expensive.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but across the board, as we see these things get harder, as spending for the average American goes up, do you think, let me ask you guys, are people going to sell their homes?
No.
No, right? So that's another element as far as how the default will affect the housing market. What we will see is an already restricted inventory become even more restricted because, unfortunately, there is a correlation between higher interest rates and people sitting in their homes.
So I did the math on my house the other day, right? And if I sell it for well, I'll be transparent, whatever, it doesn't matter. I bought my house for $540, right?
Yep.
2.5 years ago. I could probably sell it for like $730-ish, somewhere around there. So you're talking what I've paid off versus what I can sell it for minus some debts. I could probably make $250,000 on it in 3 years. Killer, right? Part of the reason why I love real estate is because if you do it right, you can build generational wealth. We talked about that before, and I love helping people do that. But if I take that $250,000 and I upgrade my house, I got some Taylor Morrisons right down the street between you and I, the hillside, that have the 30,000 square foot
I
lots,
want that
beautiful
Richmond
homes.
on top of the hill.
I know, right? I could put $250,000 down, but my interest rate's at 3.125.
Exactly.
So I am going to pay significantly more to have a bigger house. And that's at current rates. If it defaults to 8.4 to your point, dude, it literally makes no sense.
No sense. And that's why I say the housing market is affected by the default, maybe not at such an expansive rate, but
We
again,
can't touch our mortgage right now.
But no, but like,
I have a 2.78.
Hey,
exactly.
2.75.
What do you pay on your mortgage?
Full transparency.
Uh-huh.
My mortgage is $2,900.
And how big's your house?
5,000 square feet.
How many rooms and bedrooms?
I have currently without my basement.
Without your basement?
Without my basement, 4 bedroom.
4.3, right?
Yeah, 4.
Yeah. So it's
4.
4.3, 5,000, 4.4.
Wait,
No, 4.3 I thought.
4.3.
4.3.
Yeah.
5,000 with the basement, right? Backs to open space, beautiful lot. And you pay $2,900 a month.
Because it's fucking interest rate.
What did we just say?
If
A
you-
$400,000 townhome is $2,800 a month.
Yep.
Right now.
right now. So
That's why I
again,
made the move. I lived
case-
in Littleton
yeah.
before I moved to Castle Rock. And I was like, I don't know. Home
We told
price-
the story before, but Oscar bought the house that we were going to buy, and we
Yeah.
decided against it.
But case,
Oh,
but again, case
and I
in
have
point.
improved the shit out of that house.
Right?
You should come see it now. But
That's why we didn't buy it.
So I was in Littleton, and I didn't want to move to Castle Rock, and I was looking in Littleton, and I was like, man, home prices are going berserk. But I made the move because that freaking interest rate was fictitious.
Well, yeah.
To me, that I've been in the business forever,
exactly.
I'm never going to see it anywhere in the 2s again.
Yep.
I'm going for the cheap money.
Exactly.
And that's why I moved out here and I bought
now-
that house.
And unfortunately for the rest of us who did not jump on 2.9, 3.2, I'm sorry, but people are not going to get rid of 3.2 to go into 8.5. I don't care where you are. You could be in the back,
cold day in
the
hell,
back
so
slums
get rid
of
of that.
Wyoming, the back, whatever, Appalachia. Nobody.
So
is-
first of all, there's no slums in Wyoming, mainly because there's nothing in Wyoming.
There was not only no slums,
Right?
there's nothing.
There's
There's
nothing there.
antelope
But you could-
and jackrabbits.
But nobody in their right mind
big motherfucker
is going to do that. So the default.
Oh, hell no. You move me next to Oprah, I'm going.
But the default
Montana, baby.
can affect the housing market on not only interest rates, not only unemployment, but available housing and inventory. And that is something that is, out of all three factors, going to become, I think, the heaviest factor is how many homes are available. Because at the end of the day, you can have people with as much money as possible. But if I have 10 of those people that are fighting for one home, how is that going to play out?
Also, the not silver lining, but the important point to understand here, and I've said this before, time in the market will always beat timing the market, right?
Say it again.
Time in the housing market will always beat timing the housing market. For what Charlie just said,
TM. Put that
what
shit on
we
a
just
t-shirt.
said too, right? We're saying that if interest rates go to 8%, home values may drop 5 to 10, okay? But if that's
That's at max.
that's at max.
Again,
That's
5% is max.
That's a max. That's like the big one, right?
Yep.
If they drop 1 or 2%, remember you're paying off probably a larger percent of your mortgage every year than it's dropping in value.
Yes.
So if you can afford it, if it makes sense for your financial plan and your specific status, your family status, whatever it is, it's going to sound scary, but if the goal is to get into a place, build wealth, and then ride it out, because the beauty of this is, let's say you do get in at 6.75% right now, tomorrow, we get you under contract. And then in a month, the market goes absolutely insane. We default, mortgage rates are at 8.5%. Does your mortgage rate change?
As long as your job
does
doesn't change,
not.
you're
not.
solid.
That's it.
Exactly.
Right?
Write it out.
Exactly.
Write
And we
it out.
just said, I personally don't think unemployment, unless you're a government employee, I don't think unemployment's going to affect you that much.
Yeah.
Honestly. If you're a government employee, yes, because it's funded by the federal
And
government.
maybe they'll furlough you a day or two a week.
But outside of that, if you can get in even at a 6.85%, and it's a little bit above your comfort zone, but now over the next 10 years, you can pay off your principal, and your principal payoff is a larger percentage than a annual 1% decrease in home prices, which, by the way, I don't think in the history of the United States, other than 2008, we've ever had
No.
more than 3 consecutive years of negative home valuation.
Not only that, in 10 years, that's a lot of time. Anything can happen.
And
Yes.
time in the market in
Refinance.
10 years.
Refinance that thing.
Exactly.
Yep,
So
exactly.
that's what I'm saying. So yes, it's doom and gloom. We want you guys to be
Is it,
prepared. We want you guys to, like, worst case scenario, so you guys can make decisions that you need to make. However, understand that the answer is not, okay, I'm not buying, I'm just going to rent. Because if the goal is financial freedom or ability to borrow against an asset, buy and
And
wait.
again, it's beating a dead horse with this podcast. Inform yourself. Call us. Let's
Exactly.
do an analysis.
Yep.
Let's see where you are, where it fits. If it doesn't make sense, I'm
doesn't
not
make
going to
sense.
sell you
Nope.
anything you don't want to.
Nope, 100%.
But if it makes sense, hey, what are you going to go rent over there for?
100%.
At what price? You can own something, and if you don't like it, you're not tied to it. You sell it, rent it out, do something with it. Rentals are going to go up anyway. Let's find out what fits.
I had a
you.
conversation with a client the other day, and they were concerned about their monthly payments, right? And they were like, "Oh, well, it's a fiance couple, and they it's getting married, right? So, but either way, they're both
Get married first.
They're both yes, agreed. They're both renting currently, right? And they're renting at like $1,500 a month. So then we start putting together, and I was showing them some properties or whatever, and all of a sudden we start looking at them. And this is not like a dig at anybody. This is just the fact that there's two different people. There's people that do our job and have our career, that are in it every single day and understand the numbers. And then there's a consumer that may look at it once or twice if something on Zillow pops up.
And you're flooded with a lot of information.
Right. So
Way
they
too
were
bad.
sitting there going, man, I don't know, $3,000 a month, that's a lot, right?
But you guys are paying that anyway.
But this is the point. That, to them, was a revelation.
Yep.
Because they go, wait a second, you pay $1,500 and I pay $1,500. If we combine it, we both pay $3,000, which is what this $425,000 townhome
And it's
costs.
yours.
Well, let's not
And
even,
it's
let's not even talk about how dating culture has changed. So the thought of combining income with somebody else is now taboo and like, well, no, we can't do that.
Whatever.
I can't plan on that.
Do a fucking prenup.
People
Get a lawyer
combine
to drive it off.
incomes?
If you guys got to
I gotta have a conversation at
figure it
home.
the fuck out.
Right?
I'm the only income at my house.
Figure it out.
But honestly,
But yes,
guys,
the point is-
Work-wise, though,
I-
my wife holds down the fort.
I think that we honestly, I'm going to say this for myself. If you're watching, if you would have talked to me 5 years ago, I'm very proud of myself at this point for being able to have this conversation and being able to follow it, look it up. But that has been 5 years of constant education, growth, learning, and accepting that I do not know as much as I fucking think I know.
And you know what?
I don't know shit.
I've been in
about
the business for 20 plus years. I don't know everything.
No.
You have to constantly be growing.
Yep.
And I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Howdy.
sir. And on that note, guys, I think we can move on to our one rock takeaway. This has been a phenomenal topic, and honestly, I think, like I said, it flowed a lot easier than I expected it to.
I just
So,
don't want people to be Chicken Little.
Yeah.
No,
know what I
don't.
mean?
Things are not going to crumble. We're still the United States of America.
Yeah, we're not Yemen.
We still, hey,
Still America,
I don't.
baby.
I mean, I'm gonna flex my American.
And I'm proud to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
an American, where at least
And honestly, at the end of the day, like, and I was that, like I said, I was that
I'm gonna
hippie.
flex my American privilege real quick. At the end of the day, we still have the bigger stick. I don't care what.
Yeah.
We do carry the
We're still a good.
Mm-hmm.
We may not be the top of the food chain anymore, but we're still up there.
Yep.
We'll figure things out. We have smart people, we got dumb people, but we'll figure things out.
Absolutely.
It's all on your basis. Do the math, do your homework. If it doesn't fit, don't wait for a little bit. But if it does, roll with it.
All right, so let's go ahead and give them our one rock takeaways. Oscar, you're on the roll. Go for it.
Again, if you're gonna make the move, make the informed move. Don't just go blindly on what Zillow or the government or definitely not the media. Come talk to one of us. We'll talk numbers, especially me. I'm number driven. We could be up to our eyeballs in debt, and oh my God, we're gonna crash. And like, you know what? This makes sense. Numbers don't lie. Go for it.
Ball don't lie.
Yep, and I'm gonna piggyback on Oscar on that one, and it's trust the people who are looking at this every day. And that's
Talk
not,
to me.
Yeah,
I will beat Zillow
yeah,
every day. I don't
well,
care. Their
and that's
algorithms
not
don't.
that's not even to say if you don't want to talk to me, don't. But trust somebody whose job it is to understand this, know this, and that can honestly help you with the information, whether it be good or motivated by selling a home or whatever it is. People in the industry have to be up on this because it affects our income and our way of life. So whether it's us, whether it's another person in your family, a friend, reach out to somebody who is in this realm every day, because they will be able to break it down in a way that you can easily digest it.
Talk to your local realtor, financial planner, or lender.
Yep.
They'll give you the skinny on it.
Jimbo?
I want to go the random one again.
Yeah.
And say my biggest takeaway is Adele.
Yeah.
You know
from
what?
the other side.
Adele, she has depressing ass music, and I like drunk Adele,
Which
not
also-
sober Adele. And I saw her at the NBA Finals because, again, Nuggets, baby. I'll be there.
Let's go,
go,
Nuggets.
Nuggies.
Finals.
I
Let's
saw her
go.
at the Western Conference Final. She is an attractive woman.
Yeah.
She is very much an attractive
Hey,
woman.
it has
Her
no-
music
it has
is
nothing to
depressing
do-
as shit.
It has nothing to do with the fact she's worth like $1 billion.
And she's a very attractive woman.
I'm not taking it away
5'6",
from her.
but the wallets make me 6'5".
Yeah, you know what? Or our buddy Shelby, he turned me on to the Nike Air Max or whatever, what gives me like 3 more inches, so I'll be like 6 foot.
You like that one?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
You normally you come in, you're kind of there, and then all of a sudden drop it. That was good.
That was good. So no, that's yeah. My
Takeaway, Adele's hot.
It's not. No, it's not. Oh, I mean, she is, but it's not. That's not it. It was just a funny one because it's the whole argument from
Both sides. Definitely.
No, my rock
Politically,
takeaway is I need people to understand and see the bigger picture,
Yes.
because everybody gets so tunneled in, horse blinders. I'm running a race and
Peaky
there's
blinders.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if you look at the Kentucky Derby, was what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was.
May 5th, May 6th.
There's a reason they put blinders on horses. They don't want the horses to see the horses next to them, right? Because they just want a single goal. And hey, you go from here to here, and that's all I want you to focus on. But that's how people, for the most part, live their lives. And I think if we, as a society, get better at understanding the larger picture and the ramifications of decisions that maybe not just affect us, but everybody else, we'll be able to make better decisions in the long run, right? If it comes to housing, it's the same thing, right?
Yep.
Somebody sees, oh my God, we're going to go to 8.5%. I'll never afford a house. It's the wrong mindset, right?
100%.
The mindset is, okay, that is a probable or a possible outcome.
It's a hurdle.
Here's my situation. Let me go build a team, like Oscar said, around a financial advisor, a realtor, a lender, a whatever, a life coach, and go, okay, how can I accomplish this goal? And
Give me the information.
different
Yes.
perspectives and different areas of expertise to help you make the best decision.
You'll be surprised.
But the only way that works is if you go, I'm going to make this decision for the now, but I'm also going to consider what this decision means 10 years from now.
Excellent. I like it.
I
I like it because that encompasses everything.
Yeah.
Financially, politically, it encompasses everything. I
Where I
love it.
really like it, it also kind of hurts me, because unfortunately, being somebody who was short-sighted, and I've mentioned this in the past.
I've mentioned this in the past. I was his boss and mentioned this in the past many, many times in many
Yes.
one-on-ones.
Unfortunately, short-sightedness is a byproduct of the society we live in today,
Yes.
with headlines, with consumption of information. That's a big ask. It's a big one rock
It is.
takeaway.
It is a big.
But,
it's a fucking boulder.
but at the
It's
same
not a rock
time,
takeaway.
And it hurts.
But at the same time, you're absolutely right. That education, information, vulnerability, and trust is what will lead us into a better outcome for the masses.
Well, and
Get
it
out
gi-
of your
it gives-
comfort zone, and if you're
It
scared,
gives credence
do
to
it
what
scared.
Oscar said earlier, right? Take the emotion out of those decisions.
Yep.
And you're able to now actually synthesize information correctly and make a better decision. Like that's it. That's all
Numbers
it is.
don't lie. I love
man,
numbers.
if we could just take emotion out of so many decisions.
Yes.
That's
First
wow.
thunderstorm.
Thunderstorm, baby.
Love it.
Let's get it.
Love it.
On that note, I think it's time to move into our bourbon review.
Let's do it.
Yep.
Make it fast. I need to get my car under a garage.
My car.
If it starts hailing, I'm screwed.
My Jeep's already fucked. So.
I honestly, I see why Knob Creek is a tried and true brand. That's how I'd like to start it. As I was sipping through it, even I poured a second glass. I don't normally do that, but as I was sipping through it, it 100% opened up. For the 100 proof, especially that we had another one last year. Yes, difference 9 years, 4 years. This one, I can definitely see the difference in that year mark.
Makes a difference.
100%. I got way more flavor.
It tames the bourbon down.
Yes.
Age does.
It's more complex.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No, age tames the bourbon. God, that was beautiful.
I I like
that
it.
out of
I'm
my
down
ass.
with that. So let's go ahead and move into our rock rating. I started the last couple ones, so I'm going to pass it off to you, gentlemen.
All right, so I think I went last time. I'll go first this time. And I think New Riff we did, 4.5?
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. If I take this for price, sippability, and then the mood it puts me in, right? Like right now, under a covered patio with a fire pit this evening, sipping this, neat. Dude, I'm going to give it a 3. I like 3.5 because I know we've tasted some good ones, but 100 proof and how easy this is to
Not
drink.
gonna argue with that.
How complex it is. It opens up, and it's opening up without water. So like, I think
Yes.
if you put a cube in this
drop
thing,
of water.
fantastic. I think if you make this as an old fashioned, fantastic. I'm going to give it a 3.
I will say I like, honestly, and it's what I love so much about it is the fact that, like you touched on, is bourbon comes into an experience, right?
Yes.
It's good, it's bad, whatever it is. The topic that we're talking about, the price, the flavor, I 100% agree with you. Putting this 9-year 100 proof against a 4-year 100 proof last year, I gave it a 4.5. I'm right there with you. I'm going to give it a 3. Just because I could see myself sitting with you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, under a covered patio, having a hard conversation like this, and still enjoying it because of how good the bourbon is. So for me, solid 3 for sure.
I was going to give it a 3 before I heard any of that. And I think you compare it to New Age. I don't care how much science you put behind it. Aged.
Yeah, you throw something in a barrel for 9 years, shit's going to happen.
It's going to happen. It's going to
Copper
take
or
its
no
natural
copper,
course.
Cold filter, no cold filter.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
On 100,
Give it a 3.
I really do enjoy the fact that we had a good bourbon
Straight,
last year.
yes.
Yeah, a good bourbon last week and a good bourbon this week. 100 proof, same thing, but the only difference with the years.
Well, years in the distilling process, right?
But
They've been
I
doing
can
this forever.
I can taste the difference in the flavor complexity.
I can also taste the experience.
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
Yep.
100%. And that's
Absolutely.
that's such a factor is place, people, topic, whatever it is. Knob Creek, you know what you're doing.
Keep on doing what
you know
you're
what
doing.
you're doing. You know what you're
Golf
doing. 100%. Well, guys, thank you so much for sticking around on a hard topic, on a scary topic. Tried to make it a little lighthearted for you, but I think this is going to help out. Please remember, you can catch our episodes every week.
Yep.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Living in Colorado, The Mile High Perspective, and you can get in touch with us at resotr@themilehighperspective.com or give us a call at
Phone number 303-578-0263. That's 303 because we're old school.
That's right.
Just saying.
That's right.
303-578-0263. And follow us on the socials, guys.
Yes.
We need followers, man.
Yep.
I need followers on TikTok. I can't go live on TikTok without followers, goddammit.
I'm the Colorado real estate guy.
That rain is getting hard. I don't know
know.
if that's rain or hail. I'm kind of freaking out
No,
right
that's
now.
rain.
Let-
Because
let-
we're under a tin roof.
Yeah.
That's rain.
Stupid tin roof.
But we got to cut it out. So you can find me at The Lifting Agent or That Lifting Agent on Instagram and TikTok. Oscar?
OscarTheRealtor.com or Oscar the Realtor.
JMO?
The Colorado real estate guy. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, OnlyFans.
We're not talking about that yet. We got access to houses, people. All right, guys, have a great week. We'll catch you next one.